All right, welcome back to another episode of Not for Broadcast, which we said we were going to do another episode when the patch came out. We were going to do a patch notes one. I said, I actually came up with the idea instead of let's just going through the patch notes in a 4-hour slog, let's come up with our personal 5 biggest things that the patch changed and, do a little bit of quality in the patch note review in that regard. And instead,
I got my 5. You got yours?
Sure.
I got my 5.
Instead, we got Crownfall, which is a patch. It definitely is a patch. No doubt about that. The patch consists of 3 different things, basically, if you want to boil down to its basics. It has 3 different things. It has 2 arcanas for sale. $35 each.
Holy.
Avenge one and a Skywrath Mage one. It has a battle pass. It has not a battle pass. It has a cavern crawl. Very similar to the cavern crawls that we used to have, but upgraded. I do think they made it more accessible, I think, by this whole token deal rather than specific heroes.
Can I just say, I really like crawling through caverns.
Okay.
That's it. Continue.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And
that's one of my 5, by the way. So I only have 4 left.
Crawling through caverns. Okay.
Yeah.
And the final thing was a comic.
Ooh.
I guess there's also this candy store thing. There's basically like other ways to get cosmetics. I haven't delved into the candy, so I'll be honest, I don't know exactly everything that's involved there.
By the way, does no one find it weird that Valve's just like selling candy to kids out here? The concept, like they're literally just selling candy. They're a candy shop now, or whatever. I'll let it slide. But the comic was in my top 5 as well. That was my favorite thing about the patch, was the comic. Thoroughly enjoyed that comic. I thought the art was really nice, actually. Like, genuinely. I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoy nice concept art and artistic styles, and I think that was the best thing about this patch. Is like they clearly put a lot of work and effort into the stylistic design of the comic, the headlines, the cavern crawl, the little pixel emojis. Like there was clearly a lot of work done. Even the little graphics with Act 1, 2, 3, 4 have nice little images that are all stylized. It's like I like some good art. I appreciate it. That was my number 1. That was the number 1. So we got cavern crawling and then art. That's 2 of the 5.
Okay, apparently we're gonna start with the good things about this. So keep it going. Bad? What's your other 3? What's your other 3 favorite things about this patch?
The fishing. Every good cold-blooded American loves some good old-fashioned fishing. Tie up my lures, cast a little pond action going out there in the backyard. You know what I'm saying, Austin? You're a fishing man. I've seen you fishing. You fishing at the club. You know what I'm saying? Fishing's good. That was number 4. Was not number 3 or 2. Number 3.
Okay.
Single purchasable arcanas. Not locked behind a $200 paywall. Think everybody enjoys that. Even though I don't buy them, I can still appreciate that. And number 2, no gameplay patch.
Oh, that's your favorite. You're right. I forgot you hated gameplay
I
patches.
hate gameplay patches on the day they come out. Now, like 2 weeks later, I love them, because obviously you need to change the game. But the day they come out is always this feeling in my gut of like, oh man, now I have to learn a bunch of new shit. After 10 years of learning this stupid game, why do I have to keep learning it? That's a weird feeling. There are other pros that feel the same way. You've talked to some of them. This is not just a me thing.
Sure. It's the turbo nerds among the pro players are the
honestly,
guys who hate the new patch.
When I read through this patch and saw there was no gameplay, there was a part of me that was like, oh, I have another month to like not have to worry about learning.
You and Seb out there were like, oh, thank God, no gameplay patch.
That's a good club to be in. You know what I'm saying? That's a good club to be in.
That's true.
That comic, that was a dope ass comic. I enjoyed the flightless allure. Everybody enjoys a good burb.
Yeah, okay, so that would definitely be one of the 5 great things about this patch. Yeah. Lore. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of lore.
And the promise of more lore. That's
True.
Straight into my veins, brother. Straight into my veins.
I mean, it's such a wild turn. It's such a wild turn for a game that has traditionally. There might be someone at Valve who hears this and gets really mad, but like, I don't think Valve has really given a fuck about the lore most of the time.
I mean, to be fair, Dota lore is kind of whacked out.
Yeah,
like it's way too complicated. That happens
when you don't give a shit that much about the lore.
It's like someone. It's like if you took George R.R. Martin's works and then wrote all of the characters throughout the entirety of his works without any of the world building or backstory. And then after 20 years of writing this series, you went back and are like, you know what? I'm going to do some world building now. Like, imagine how difficult that is. That's Dota lore. You have all these characters, you have all these dudes that do cool shit, and then you try and make backstories for how they all work together, and it's impossible. Like you can't explain how Shadow Shaman, the goddamn, dude who goes around scamming people, cutting off dicks, somehow is in the same world as some like spectral force of the primeval.
That's not what castration is.
Well, it's whatever. They get my point, That's what the Candy Works is all about here. So gotta get a move on. All right, what's your top 5 then? Smart ass.
I don't have another top 5 because that's all there was to it. Well,
round of applause for me then.
Looks like I won this round. Rearrange your
Looks
same
like I won
5.
This round. Put a point on the board. Put a point on the board above me, please, for the rest of the series.
Okay, Avery gets a point. I guess I would just rearrange your 5 into a different 5 rating, but really there's nothing else to add about this patch. It does seem like they put a lot of effort into this. It's just a lot of effort into the areas that I personally don't give a shit about, and I did not expect Valve to give that much of a shit about, which is primarily lore. It seems like they're actually trying to build up a full-on story here.
That's cool.
Which is something that has never been done in Dota's history before. It's cool. Outside of Dragon's Blood. Which,
we don't play.
Frankly, is maybe a low bar to pass.
To be fair, though, they didn't build that.
They didn't.
So that's not on Valve. I think it's cool that they're gonna make something. I think it's cool that Valve always tries different stuff. Like even if they have stuff that works in the past, they often just chuck it in the trash, the same as the stuff that doesn't, because they just want to do something new. And I kind of respect that, because you also have to consider that there are people working on this game that have been working on it potentially for a long time, or someone who went to work somewhere else in the company and came back. And what is going to make that guy excited to work on Dota? Like, that guy's not going to be excited to work on the next Dota patch if it's like, ooh, who am I going to give 1 armor to today? And then I'm going to go make the same battle pass that I made 30 times in a row since 1995 when we were making Half-Life 1, like, it's not exciting. You need something new. You need something. So maybe there were a bunch of guys who are like, you know what? I want to make an event that's like multiple acts with overarching story, and it builds up and people get, excited about this ramp up process. It's a little different than just here's some hats and some candy, I think that's kind of cool if that's how it pans out. Now, if it doesn't, then okay. I mean, what can you do? But I think the premise is interesting. I think that the only part people are mad about is the fact that Valve didn't say this was going to happen. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. That's
Valve
all you can be
communication. The downfall of why the community gets mad with Valve all the time. Ultimately, at the root of it is communication.
I accepted that we were never going to have communication on anything a long time ago. And I'm still surprised that people have not also accepted this, because the time for the communication debates is long gone, my friends. That happened a long time ago, and nothing has ever changed for like 7 years. So why are we still expecting it to change? You just take what they give you when they give you it. They obviously have their reasons for not doing it. That's fine. And just see what happens. Like, just see what happens, man.
Okay, I mean, I would say that this time around, it was the communication that they did do that was the problem, not the lack of communication.
Well, what do you want, man? They don't communicate, it's a problem. They communicate, it's a problem. Like, this is why they don't do anything. I'm gonna go work on some other game. I'm gonna go work on CS:GO 6. Like, why do I need to work on this? Everything they do is wrong, apparently.
If they had not communicated, it might have been better. Might have. Obviously, it's still the other problems that would have existed. But legitimately, what has happened, and I think part of the reason why the community, some parts of the community got mad. There's other people, there's a very large part of the community, I think, that is perfectly happy with this patch, very excited about it. But there was a very large part of the community that was very mad about it. And it was because the communication starts all the way back when they first had the ringleader guy. They had that video, said, yo, this guy's coming out in 2024. Right?
Oh, what year is it? What year check? Mods year check?
2024.
Oh.
It's April 2024. There's still plenty of the year to go, but that was like 7 months ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was a long time ago, right? They're like, this new hero is coming out. And also in the past, Valve has, they've released 2 heroes a year. It used to be the pace they were going for. It seems like that maybe is not the case anymore. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But that was 7 months ago. And then they have, through various blog posts, been like, Crownfall's coming, but we're also doing some other stuff with it. So they built it up to be a really big thing. And so the people who thought really big thing meant gameplay and new hero, even if they didn't specifically say that, I do think it's a little bit understandable that those people expected, when the patch keeps on getting Crownfall's coming, it's big. You naturally do expect, those things that we're going to get eventually must be coming with Crownfall.
Yeah, well,
the new hero must be coming with Crownfall because they put it up to be such a big patch. The new gameplay update must be coming with Crownfall because they say it's a really big patch.
Yeah, well, gotcha, bitch. Gotcha again. I don't know why people keep falling for it. I never expect anything within any deadline they've ever given in the history of this company. Like, what? That's the part I don't get. Like, you can be mad about it. I understand that. You can be disappointed. I'm not even arguing you shouldn't be. But just like, I will never sit there and look at a date given by Valve and be like, that's it, boys. That's when it's going down, If anything, it's just like, you got to give it a plus or minus. An estimate. In physics, plus or minus 3 months. That's Valve time. Sometimes 6 months. And then you take that estimate and put an estimate on that. You get another plus minus.
the estimate gets an estimate.
2024 plus or minus 3 years. Then I'm never disappointed. It'll be 2027. I will have gone back to school and graduated again, and it'll release Crownfall. And it will be the clowns all along. It's perfect. I like the comic. That's all I want to say. I enjoyed the comic. I think there are other comic enjoyers out there. So, eat some candy and have a good time. Dota is still Dota. If you like the game, you're going to play the game. It's not like the player count just drops off. It's not like 400,000 people are just like, fuck this shit. I'm going to go
The player count is the highest it's been in a while.
Yeah. So, I think there's always people that get their hopes up too high. And you can always give them something. But, I like what they're doing here. I like what they're cooking. Let them cook. People always say, let them cook. Let Valve cook, okay? Let them cook. What about that? They're stirring up something in the kitchen. Let them cook.
Okay. Counterpoint here. I remember Joey and I talked about the whole Valve saying, like, hey, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but fuck this whole esports thing and battle pass thing. We're just gonna focus on making the game better. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Is the game better?
And
is the game better?
I remember Joey asked me,
is the game better, Austin?
Back in December, how do you think that whole change is going so far? And I said, back in December, well, I don't really know yet. I think it's hard to say. I think we'll get our judgment when Crownfall comes. Once Crownfall finally drops, we'll get an idea. And that was in December. Now we're here in April. Crownfall has dropped, and I still cannot give a judgment on this philosophy change because Crownfall is a multi-part thing.
Part
so
one drop.
I can't have a complete judgment for another 4 months.
Yeah, well, that's your problem as a content creator, Austin. I don't know what to tell you. You live and die by the sword, and unfortunately, you don't control the sword. So that's life. You know what you should do? Go play some Dota. How about that? Go queue up a game.
That is my problem.
Do some cavern crawling. You know what I'm saying? Crawl around in the mud with the rest of us. instead of sitting in your ivory tower.
I'm just saying, if it's like they made this whole gameplay where, you know, we're not doing this battle pass, we're focused more on the gameplay aspect and like buffing that up, and I'm still waiting to like kind of have an opinion on it.
No, you know what you're waiting for?
That says something, right?
You're waiting for the communication. You're waiting for the better communication, and that's a trap.
No, I'm not. I'm just waiting for the completed amount of work and to see if it's like, oh yeah, this has actually made the game a lot better.
So them building up to that is a bad thing all of a sudden?
I'm just saying it takes a while. It's taken a while.
Like you're one of those dudes who watches like you go to Dune. You know, Dune just came out. You're gonna go to Dune and watch it on like 4X. You're like, come on. Just get to the part where they kill the emperor already. You know, like, it's ridiculous. What do you want?
I remember when I watched the Fellowship of the Ring with my grandmother, and she didn't know it was a trilogy. Yeah, she walked out of that first movie being like, what the hell?
That's you right now. Watching The Lord of the Rings on 8X. Wondering why this movie's so slow. Like, have some patience, man. Nobody has patience. You know, the average Dota gamer has ADHD. He has massive attention issues. He's a multitasker. He's a digital consumer. All of these things in the modern era, right? I think most people are kind of in this general realm. Not a bad thing. I'm just saying generally. So that's why they're very impatient. The second you tell them something's coming, they latch onto it like ravenous dogs and just drag it into the den and beat it till it's dead unless you give it to them. This is why Valve doesn't tell you anything. Because the second they tell you something's coming, it's just foaming at the mouth, frothing at the mouth. And then the second it's maybe delayed a month or like, oh, there's multiple parts, isn't that hype? It's just just tearing the flesh off each other. You know, it's a pit. It's a goddamn pit down there. So I'm kind of with them. You know, fuck it. I'm not gonna tell you shit. Just be surprised. I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be like a Ringmaster thing, and holy Basato, it's a comic. You know. I think that's kind of cool. I like stories. I'm a big story fan. I genuinely think it's kind of cool they're going to try and tell a story. I'm excited to see where it goes. And if it ends up poorly, then people are going to give them feedback, and you know, then they'll go work on Dota 3. Tough beats.
Okay, so yes, if you give the community the direct deadline, they will hold you to that, and it doesn't leave you room to be able to wiggle around. I would still say setting expectations is something that you could do with more clear communication. I think that's pretty easy to do, right? Just be like, hey, the next update is going to be a cosmetics thing. We think the patch still has plenty of room for growth. That would have been like a simple one line that I think, you know, would have set expectations a lot better. But I just want to say you can't give the community a hard deadline, but that's what I think is maybe one of the most interesting things about this patch is Valve gave themselves a deadline.
Well, because
they gave a almost hard deadline. Probably means it's pretty much complete. But they gave themselves a hard deadline of here's where the next parts are coming, which I think is probably one of the best things about this patch is that Valve is basically laid out for the next 4 months. It seems like that they are going to be doing regular updates like this. So I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I think that them breaking it apart, even though for my own gratification, it's not great. I think it's probably very good for the game that they break it apart, because essentially what the Cavern Crawl is a higher, it's a much more quality version of what other games do, where it's like your daily goals and quests and whatever, right? Where you just get an arbitrary amount of points. It's just something to keep you coming back so you could get your free points so you don't have to spend money on the game.
I thought that was the report system.
Well, that too.
That's why I log in every day. So I can play a game and report somebody and feel like I improved the community. And then I get that little pop-up that says, the guy in your game was reported successfully. And you're like, oh, touched my heart.
But then 5 years in, 10 years in, the community's still the same. You haven't given up on improving the community.
I mean, what can you do? You know, you can only do so much. At least I did my part. Did you do your part? Probably not.
I did do my part. I've done my part.
In the corner, no ring.
Feels like you're just taking a mop at the beach there. You're just trying to push back the ocean, you know. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I think it's a good idea that they have made something like this, where month to month, basically, they have created something high quality that tries to get people back to playing Dota.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. For my own personal, like, this doesn't drive me hardly at all to play Dota again. I was really waiting for a new patch to play Dota. I haven't played Dota a lot in basically the last 2 months, nor have you. I will point out, as much bluster as you put forward, neither of us are playing a whole lot of Dota. A lot of other people I've talked to haven't been playing a whole lot of Dota, but obviously we're in the minority because the numbers are the highest they've been in a while. So
yeah, they have the data on that too. Like, that's the thing. We can all sit here in our armchair analysis and be like, oh, we need something new, but maybe that's only 1,000 people on certain forums that won't be named that are like, we need this now, or I'm gonna write some ugly shit. But in reality, it's like 99% of the player base is still just playing, and the engagement is equally as high, and they have all the stats on that. So when they decide to release things, I feel like there's a consensus that it's always delayed because it's not done, but maybe they're just spacing it because engagement's still high. They feel like they can space it better and get higher engagement over a longer period of time for the work they put into a project, which would make sense because if you go back to, not saying this is necessarily the case, but if you go back to the Battle Pass, I feel like their perception was they put a lot of work into something that was like an impetus. They just released it, they got all the attention, they got all the engagement for like 2 months, and then nothing. And to work like a year for that probably felt a little lackluster, was this really worth it? It's like a celebration thing, but at the same time, you're not spacing the work out, which is what they said they wanted to do. So maybe this is some sort of hybrid of like, we want to create something like the Battle Pass that gets people engaged, but we want to do it over a longer period of time. We want to space out the work we put in an event over a longer period of time to build up to it. So it doesn't feel like we just like release Ringmaster, and then guess what? 3 months after Ringmaster's out, you're going to have the same people like, we need a gameplay patch. We need a new hero, and then you're just back there with the ravenous dogs in the pit. So there has to be like some more sustainable model. I don't really know what it is. You're trying to make everybody happy. I just think the average Dota player, honestly, give them some hats, tell them something's coming in. Like, you're probably just going to keep playing the game. I mean, it's addicting as hell. Like, Dota is an incredibly addictive substance. I'm sure if the CIA had Dota in like the 70s, it would have been a very differently named program than MK Ultra. It would have been like MK Ultra Kill with the fucking anti-mage in there, and there'd be like 30 dudes walking around with their mind psyop to hell because of Dota 2, because that shit is addicting as hell. You can't get
CIA ruin inner cities with Dota.
Maybe
you're saying.
No, I'm not gonna say
it's an alternate universe.
Like, I think people underrate how much the average guy might complain, but then just keep playing the game. But I mean, all of this is like whatever. Do I wish certain things were done differently? Sure, I'm sure everybody does. Do I understand they built up a certain hype and then like pulled it away and blue balled the fuck out of people? Yeah, I get that too. That probably a bad feeling. Some would call it blue balling. Others might call it edging. I'll leave that up to the audience to decide which side of that argument you're on. But all I know is, I gave my top 5 favorite things. I scored a point. I'm still waiting to hear something that Austin liked out of this patch, because he's being a negative Nancy right now.
I'm being a negative Nancy because you refuse to say anything negative about it. So I'm the only one who has to say something negative about it.
All right, you want me to say something negative?
Yes.
I can't think of anything.
Oh my God, there's no way you can't think of something negative about it.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like I'm so jaded.
Ringmaster was announced 7 months ago, still is not released, and big tournaments are coming up as well, which means are they going to put that hero into captain's mode for Riyadh TI? Because what they've done in the past is usually release the hero around here with no aghanims or shard. They balance it out. Then they give them the aghanims and shard. They balance it out, and then they put it into captain's mode. Then there's a solid month or two.
I think the Ringmaster release is in some sort of build up to TI this year. Maybe a couple months out or whatever it is, but there's going to be some trajectory there, because the TI theming was like the circus theme, right? They had the lights on the thing.
Oh, Copenhagen?
Yeah. I mean, it could have been like a Christmas theme. Sure. I don't know, but it kind of felt like they're doing something with that. I don't know. So maybe that's just been longer. If there's a massive PvE mode, which seems to be the case, then that would take the place of like they release another hero, right? That's a lot of work. Those things are like a huge amount of time to build. And I think people also overestimate how many people play those. Like, those are passionate.
That is something that I think we have heard from Valve themselves, that they say the community vastly overestimates how many people play these modes, and they underestimate the amount of time it takes to make Aghanim's Labyrinth.
I mean, it's the same with
past.
like the arcade or these custom games or anything. Like people put a lot of time into those, like, you know, Ability Arena and this stuff. And to get people to actually convert from Dota to that stuff is incredibly difficult. Like it is insanely hard to convert most of the player base because it's just people just want to play Dota, man. They just do. There is a portion that really enjoys those and they're really cool and they're really fun and like they're awesome. But for the amount of effort that goes into them versus can we just make Dota better? Is it worth it a lot of times? I don't know. I personally just like Dota being better. That's what I want to see. Like I just want to see the game being made better because I think at this point it is what it is. And you should just make it as good as you can and enjoy the artistic prestige quality of Dota 2 for as long as we have it. And that's like an admirable thing. So maybe that's my disappointment is like we don't get that for longer, but I'm willing to wait if it comes and it's in its higher quality. Like I'm willing to wait longer for a higher quality game that can be made more consistently than just pushing out trash. Because there were periods where I remember I've been playing this game for 10 years. There are periods within that 10 years where maybe for a year or two, it felt like there was a lot of gameplay patches, but not a lot that actually changed the direction of the game. Like it was just not necessarily just number tweaking, but it could have been larger stuff, but it just felt like doing it for the sake of changing stuff. And that's also how game dev goes. Like you're going to do stuff that you think has a big impact. Maybe it doesn't, or it takes a while to come up with ideas. You know, I'm not saying that's not part of the process, but like, I don't want them to just release gameplay patches frequently that are all meaningless. I kind of like the cool gameplay patches. Like I think the Frontiers update was cool. They introduced a lot of new stuff. Some of it ended up being cool. Some of it ended up being not as utilized. You know, like are Watchers really that impactful? I don't know, but they're there, whatever. You can play with them. But the concept of releasing something that is that big with that much new stuff, I think isn't more interesting than here's a constant stream of tweaks. Because you go in, you buff a hero, you nerf a hero. 2 weeks later, someone's complaining about the next top meta hero. Okay, you nerf that hero. Guess what? Another hero replaces him, and then someone's crying that you got to nerf that hero, and it's just endless, and it never stops. So I feel like you should just release big stuff and let the dogs go ham. You know, the dogs lead each other. If you let them starve long enough, they'll consume each other, and we'll all be happy. And then we can all eat our candy together and enjoy a nice comic. These analogies
you come up with this show. Every person's just one bad day from killing their family. Like, what? Let the dogs eat each other.
I know that quote's from somewhere, man.
Oh my god! All right, well, Wikram did put out a tweet recently, and some people would look at this as them trying to perhaps do a little bit of damage control. Maybe they're just laying out what the future is, but they did say that in his tweet he says Crownfall is a 4-act narrative that will expand over the next few months. Each new act will bring its own story, characters, a unique overworld map, and all new rewards. There might even be a surprise or two along the way. So note they said characters, not heroes, probably related to just lore stuff. The surprise or two along the way is the thing that I guess people would be hopeful for if they want a PvE thing. Maybe the surprise is a PvE thing. If they want a second hero outside of just Ringmaster, then maybe that's what the surprise is. Whatever you hope for Dota, you can put your hopes on surprise or two, basically. Yeah. So
why not, man?
Which our next patch is going to be coming out mid-May. I believe I saw some I don't know if this is real or not, but some comments about somewhere in the data there are actual hard dates for all 4 of these, which again wouldn't surprise me because we assume it's probably all of this is already kind of done and they're just pacing it out. But it looked like it was kind of month to month, so I guess we'll get more information on this. I mean, to be honest, none of us have actually gone through our individual cavern crawls and know what's in there in the first place. Probably just cosmetics and stuff like that, but we'll see what else lies in there. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with. I personally was incredibly underwhelmed and disappointed by this patch.
Yeah, well, I'm incredibly underwhelmed and disappointed by your reaction to the patch. How about that? How does that make you feel, Austin? Feel like I'm fine with letting now?
I'm fine with letting Valve cook. I'm just saying, like, as a customer of Dota 2, I just don't care about hats most of the time, and I don't really care about lore. I would have cared about lore 10 years ago, when Dota was building up, feel like it's making the lore swerve now is kind of weird, but whatever. If they want to do it, sure. I enjoyed the comic. I thought it was very well done. As you said, the art quality was very high. I think the story is pretty cool. So I'm down with it. I think the arcanas look great. I'm not going to buy them, but, thought they looked good. Are you going to buy them, Avery?
No, I don't play those heroes. Those are some garbage ass fucking heroes.
Oh, sure. I don't play those heroes. Sure.
I hate Venge. I have hated that hero for 10 years. I never played in competitive.
And what arcana have you bought?
I don't think I bought a single arcana.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now
so you're telling me it was because of the heroes that you're not buying it, or more so because you just wouldn't buy them anyway?
They have not made a single arcana for you know those voting things they used to have where you vote for the hero with the arcana?
Yes.
My hero never won once. They've never made an arcana for a hero that I'm like, oh, I play that hero daily. I can name you the heroes I play. There's no arcanas, Treno, Treant, Venno, Warlock, Elder Titan, Undying, Bane, Abaddon, Clockwork, all these fives. There's just fucking dog shit, man. There's nothing. We get left with nothing. Every hat is for goddamn Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden takes every cosmetic for the entire 5-position pool that has ever existed and jams it into one hero over and over and over because every Crystal Maiden buyer buys it every time. And I'm sick of this shit. I'm goddamn sick of it. There was the Isle one, but I don't play Isle, so.
Well, that's your problem.
I do play Isle, like, mechanically, but nobody plays Isle in a random pub. It's the most garbage hero to play in pubs, unless you're GH and you have the mindset of a Hindu monk or some shit. I don't know. Like, that hero is infuriating in pubs because it's entirely dependent on your team. So if they make an arcana for a hero I'll play, I'll buy it. I have nothing against that. The one I regret is not getting the Wind Ranger one. But that's because back then Wind Ranger wasn't a support.
That's true.
So, like, what do you want me to do about that, man? And then that's the one they hid behind the goddamn paywall. I can't go buy it.
Well, now that's a good thing about the candy thing. There's probably a way they have done it so there are ways to get these arcanas now. So you could probably get it through the candy store. I bet there is a way.
There's no way. It's over, dude. It's goddamn Jover. So yeah, you know what? If they make one, I'll buy it. But otherwise, I'm not gonna pay $35 for an arcana for a hero I don't play. I'm gonna pay $35 to buy 15 keys for a chest to get 16 common items that I'll recycle. Okay, that's what I'm gonna spend my money on. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, well, again, my outcome of this, I was very disappointed by the patch for my own personal.
I was very disappointed in your reaction to the patch.
Yes, I understand.
I'd like to reiterate that as well. Thank you.
How'd you feel about the patch?
I haven't gotten to play it yet. It looks cool. I'm ready to do some cavern crawling. You want to go cavern crawl right now?
But I'll
crawl through some caverns with you.
I will say, I think what Valve is doing is cool from an outside perspective.
Oh, okay.
It's not my jam, but I'm down to let them cook to see what they got going on. They got 4 parts to get through. It's hard to be able to judge, what the outcome of this is at the end. So I'm fine with letting them cook, as you say. I'm just saying this recipe is quite the slow simmer. That's all.
Slow simmers build a boiling pot, my friend. Time will tell. Time will tell.